We have all heard it. Always wear clean underwear in case you're in an accident, or always shave your legs if you're going to be going to the doctor. Well, at least for women anyway. Always have the house spotless if someone's coming over, and I resemble that remark. My mom and I cleaned and cleaned for Stephanie to come down. And these are not just quirky rules, they're energy leaks. They're the little ways we spend our energy preparing for other people instead of protecting our own field. Welcome to this week's High Heels to Happy Feels. I'm Natalie.
I'm Stephanie, and this week is about reclaiming your field. Your energy is your freedom, and every boundary that you set is a spell. And if you have already taken a look at our astrology for the month of October or September, hello, don't jump ahead, eek. And actually, our topic of the week this week that's coming out, that came out this morning, I believe. Now that I think
Mhm.
about what day it is, it's Monday. It's all energy, right? And it's so obvious as why Saturn went, or September 1st, Saturn retrograde back into Pisces. So that's our karmic lessons around compassion, accountability, and all of those energetics rise up, right? Boundaries, those energetic boundaries. September 2nd, Mercury is entering Virgo. So that's tomorrow. We've got sharp, clear thinking that's going to help us name those leaks and really refine our daily practices. And then September 3rd and 4th, this one's kind of tricky because Mercury squares Uranus, Mars squares Jupiter. So that's tension. And it's tension around over preparing, overdoing, over committing yourself. Those boundaries that you set are going to be so crucial for preventing burnout. September 5th, Uranus is stationing retrograde. Sorry, we are currently not retrograde. We're stationing retrograde in Gemini. That's collective shakeups. And that's going to demand that you keep your field clear. And then September 6th, our moon enters Pisces ahead of the new week's. Next week on Sunday, we have, of course, our full moon and lunar eclipse. So boundaries are critical, right? It's not just practical, that you got to have them just to prep for release. And I, there's just so much here to dig into with these everyday leaks. And I know that that was kind of dry going through as I'm like reading through my notes around the astrology. But wow, it's so critical and it's so easy to just get caught up in where we're leaking every day. And I think it'd be, excuse me, a really good idea if we could talk a little bit about how those sneak into our lives without even realizing it.
Yeah, so Steph and I, we were talking this morning because we had our podcast, of course, prepared to go out yesterday, and we didn't quite get to it. So we were talking about it this morning, and we know boundaries are such a thing, but boundaries, when you hear about it over and over on social media, you think, what does that mean? Like we can do our clear and our protective boundaries that we create our little bubbles. But what Stephanie was really insinuating through the whole thing is the leaks that we give, the sneaky ways that we let our boundaries slide, or we have little edges of those boundaries that we just, aren't taken care of. So the sneaky ways that we let our energy get out from under our own nose. And like the ones I mentioned right at the top, clean underwear rule, grandma, mom. And I don't know, for those of you who haven't heard it, you should always be in clean underwear in case you get in an accident. So you are
Right. And
prepared for those responders to take care of you in a clean way.
and so that you're all clean and tidy. And I'm like, I'm sorry, if I have an accident, it's most likely that I'm going to have another accident. So the shorts are going to be the least of their concerns if that. I'm sorry, but that's just a true statement. And why are we? I get politeness. I understand being kind. I understand washing sheets for your guest and cleaning the space and that you want to make a nice presentation and allow somebody to feel comfortable in their environment. But why are we going out of our way to say things like clean underwear in case you're in an accident or, shaving your legs for the doctor or things like that? What does that have to do with you. You're doing that for somebody else's energy.
right? Like makeup for your errands, just in case you run into somebody.
Oh my God, right?
This is all stuff we spend our time putting our energy into these places just in case for somebody else.
And I'll tell you what, Natalie and I are the worst at this, and our own members, especially people that are going through our foundations, our annual program, it's huge. And there's a lot of content, but they'll be the first ones to tell you that we give away way too much. I mean, there's so
We
much
overdo things
we overdo because
because
we're
we're
like,
at
what else can
somebody
we
else.
add? What else can we add? Because we want to try and please and please and please. And what else can we do? And it's like, that's not what they asked for. And you want to give what people ask for and more, but the whole farm, right? And it's like, and at what level stress does that create for you as an individual? And that's really what this boils down to is when you've got those energy leaks, when you're not setting up the boundaries, and they're not even boundaries against somebody else, it's a boundary against ourselves in this case, and a boundary of like taking our time back. But they're all examples of energy leaks
Well,
and not doing them.
there's a really good one that even brings it like when you're preparing for a meeting, really your agenda should be what you need to get to, what answer you need to get to. Maybe there are longer meetings and you have more things that you need to answer. But you don't need to have a discussion about all of these other things with folks who don't care and just need to get you to this answer. So you over prepare and you have all of this presentation and people don't listen for the first 20 minutes until they care. So
Right? I mean, think about all the bigger meetings you go to. And
ugh,
you're like, oh, I mean, I even know, we joked about this, knowing what meetings are coming up this week at the day job. And some of them are just giant, big organizational meetings. And you're like, sweet, multitasking time. Is that really is that really what they are wanting you to do during those calls? And you're like, no, but you know that there's going to be these 5 minutes and these 5 minutes and these 5 minutes you need to tune in. Okay. Would this have been better served in a 15-minute, 30-minute call versus an hour and a half? Yeah.
you bring up another good point though, saying yes to every invite.
Oh my
Like
God, right?
maybe some of those things are things that we could skip and maybe do a replay and be like, oh, this is relevant to me. I'm going to listen to this part and then I'm going to move on with my day.
Right. Listen to the recording. Thanks. I'll
And if
check
it's
that out later.
numbers or, technical stuff that we know because we get trained on it, yeah, things we can skip through maybe.
Well, and excuse me, is really interesting about all of this is it's tied to Virgo. So we already talked about Mercury entering Virgo, and we're in Virgo this month. So Virgo is analytics, right? It's like list analytic thought process. Let's task orient, right? So this is a really good opportunity to work on those leaks
Mhm.
and but it's also a great opportunity to know your audience. And if you are in one of those people that is like over leaking, to just be like, look, think of everybody you're looking at like they're all Virgo. Just assume that they only want the high level details. Just give them the deets and get out of their way and reframe it that way. And I think that's how I'm going to approach this entire month is just be like, assume everybody's a Virgo and that they're all here for the high level details. Just give me my tasks and move out of my way.
Yeah, and see, it's kind of an exciting month for me because that's how I live my life. Like I get written up for how direct I am. I do.
She doesn't quite get written
Well,
up, but yes,
no, it's in my they're not like pips or anything or actual write-ups, but it's like they're goals as part of my
they're
performance.
goals. They're
To
goals.
start maybe
Hey,
softening my direct approach sometimes. So this is going to be a great month for me because everybody's going to be, let's do it, let's go direct.
right. At least you hope that's what they're going to do. And then the
Right.
Mars squaring Jupiter.
Oh yeah.
So that anytime you've got a square and you're thinking about, Mars being so direct and Jupiter being your career base and so many different wonderful things that Jupiter is, don't pour out more energy than you got. don't do that. And I think, I mean, it leads into we have to remind ourselves that boundaries are not walls. And I mean, just as we're thinking about talking about all these different boundaries and the everyday leaks, did I miss anything thinking about the leaks before we really jump into talking about the boundaries, how they're not walls and what we can do to help create those?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I just have a really good example now that you mentioned that boundaries are not walls, is like just thinking about the meetings and all of the things we say yes to. Like the other thing that I do a lot, which I'm a pretty direct person, like I mentioned, but I do soften my no's when I tell people no,
Mhm.
like, no, I can't do it because I have something. An answer of no is a perfect answer. Anyway, sorry, no, I'm good. Let's
But
move
you
on.
know what? That is super valid that you say that because I've done it. I have really amazing girlfriends that do it. And when you're in a whole text string and you've got a group going on, they don't need to know your whole itinerary as to why you're saying no. And yet, that's the soft no. And we don't need to do that. A simple, nope, can't make it. If they want an explanation, they'll ask. They do not need a dissertation or the entire novel of War and Peace written to them explaining, no, because I have a meeting and then I have to do this and then I got to organize over here and then I got to do kids and the dogs and, and they're like, uh, I was done at no and don't care.
Right. That's the conversation of do you have space for me to dump on you?
Right?
Otherwise, no. Like, just cut it off. Let's be done.
Just no, just no. I mean, yeah, it's not a therapy session. No soft nose. It's just yes or it's just no.
All right, so
And
let's talk about our filters then, because boundaries are
okay,
not walls.
boundaries aren't walls. They are
Right.
not. Boundaries, here's some myths for you as you think about this. Because as we're saying this, people are like, ooh, hard no. Sounds awful. That sounds so mean. It sounds selfish. It sounds like you're cutting people off. But are you? Because if you, every single time you're thinking something like that, or you're thinking something in a negative way about number one, you're again letting the energy leak just by giving somebody else that much power over your no. But the other part of that is think of how you would appreciate it if somebody just said, nope, can't make it today, versus, well, and then they tell you yes, and then maybe, but let me get back to you. And it's 2 days later, right up before you're supposed to go, and then they say they can't make it. And now you've got no plans and no,
And
I
you
mean, and
and
it
you
screws everything up.
in your mind keeping track of that conversation.
Yeah.
Like boundaries just simply take the noise away. And we have so much noise in our lives.
Oh,
If
God.
we can have those filters, just filter out the noise. Just get us down to where our energy is clean. We know what we're doing. Yes, no, boundary. Like they're not mean and they're not selfish. And you're not cutting people off.
But I love how you said that. They filter out the noise. Excuse me, like hiccups, weird stuff going on. They do. They help. They're giving you that control. They're helping you hold your energy. They're keeping your space safe, right? We talk all the time. We're grounding, we're shadow work, we're doing all these introspection things, and it's very cool. But if you're not establishing your own boundaries to protect that space, it's a leak. Plug the holes, plug the holes. So
It
let's
is.
get into, we already talked a little bit about because we've got Saturn and Pisces coming in, teaching us all about the compassionate. And, Saturn is our teacher. And sometimes we don't love Saturn, but we should because Saturn's here to help you make sure you're learning a lesson. But at the same time,
Ability, right?
yeah, I'm hearing something banging around down here around me. I have no idea what that is. Um, so yeah, it's those the compassionate part, right? Pisces and the intuitive. So Saturn's telling you these filters aren't negotiable for your own well-being.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep,
Because
that makes sense.
Because it's teaching you, yes, you're Pisces, you're lovey, you're intuitive, you want to say yes. I'm here to teach you that it's compassionate to yourself, to remind yourself to be kind to yourself in order to do all these things. So,
That's a responsible intuition because you need to be listening to yourself anyway. So that's the intuitive part. Add some responsibility on top of that, and you're protecting yourself first.
yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
totally makes sense.
Yes. So, couple
All
little
right.
ways you can do. Let's get into because we've got a couple ideas here that you and I talked through about setting boundaries. We know saying no, but
Yes. Solid
what
no.
about some other examples? Solid no's, just no. And it doesn't have to be nope, and be a dick about it, but you do say no.
Yeah,
No.
it's a good spell of protection. And
Yeah.
and a really good boundary that I've learned over the last couple of years, when I really need to rant or rave, I'll ask somebody, "Do you have space for me right now?" And
Ooh, I
they
like that.
they will know like space means Natalie's gonna freak out for a minute, and I really need to stop and listen to her because she needs me. And they tell me when they don't, they're very honest with me, no, I don't have space. But the way I ask them, now they ask me that same way. So if they're having, I mean, it's one thing to call and have a conversation with your friends and be able to rant and rave and, just, have a daily conversation. It's another thing when you need something deep and you need some time with somebody and you ask your friends, do you have space? And they in turn do that now with me as well.
Which is brilliant because you've set expectations and it's a clear channel, it's clear communication as to what are the key words, right? It's almost like safe words. Hey, sometimes people will say, "Do you have a minute?" Well, what do you mean by a minute? And when you know your friends or you know your audience, that's the ask.
Right.
Do you have some moment? Do you have some time? I need to unload.
Right. I
Not
need
right
somebody
now,
to
but
help
I
me carry
will
all my
in
wands right now.
right, right. I will in 2 hours though. Can you hold that thought or is it critical? Because I'll readjust if it's critical. And you find out, right? You do some probing questions. But that's great because you're establishing those boundaries. And are recognizing those boundaries because they're asking. They're asking permission now versus just, oh, what do you mean no? And getting all sassy pants about it.
Well, and imagine, like, that's how we've lived our lives for so long that we just call and you just dump on people.
Oh
Imagine
yeah.
how you've left them. I've never thought about it until a few years ago. And I was like, wow, I am a bull in a china shop sometimes.
Right?
And
But we
you
all are.
need to
And
ask your
technology
friends, though, can my bull be released right now? Because I really need some help. And they're like, no, send it back a little bit longer and let's talk in an hour or so. Whatever.
but it brings up a valid point because technology has done that to us. We have made everything so instant gratification, so right now between text messages, emails, phone calls, social media, that it's like when people don't answer in 5 minutes, you're like, are they okay? Do we need a welfare check? Do we do we need are we all what's going on? No. And if you've set those boundaries with people early on, then they understand, nope, this is a downtime for them. You don't bug right now, right? Or they recognize that you aren't going to respond. And that's another thing I have had to work at really hard at work is to not respond to every email immediately. Because I am one of those that when I get an email, I want to respond. I want to get on it. I want to make sure that they understand exactly, what's on their path so that it's like off my plate and it's back onto somebody else. But sometimes letting it sit has helped me solve for that so much better or not react in the way that I feel in that moment.
Right. Which is
And I
very
think,
helpful, but yeah, I totally understand.
but yeah, you do. You just automatically respond right away. And that's not always a good thing.
No, and when I have an inbox, my inbox has to be empty every afternoon before I leave work, which
Hmm.
is chaotic because we carry lots of projects and I mean, we have lots of things going on globally. So, I mean, it's kind of but it's one of my things. But the other tech cutoff that I was thinking of was I finally realized that my phone is for my convenience.
Yes,
Not,
ma'am.
and that took a long time for me to get to. Because,
Mhm.
that's if I choose not to answer my phone, don't think that there's something wrong with me. Remember in the day when you couldn't reach me? You had to call and leave a message with my parents at my house?
Right.
Like,
Or you got a busy signal when you called the phone and you had to just wait your turn and call back and
yeah,
hope.
remember when you had to get double lines?
Yeah,
Like,
call waiting was huge. You were like,
oh
oh
yeah,
my
call
gosh, I have
later.
another call. Hold
Oh my
on.
God. And then
But
it was
even,
so exciting. And
but
your parents
then,
had rules. And anyway,
but we had to retrain ourselves then too to remind ourselves you don't have to answer that other line. If you're not expecting
right.
that call, it's for you. It's your phone line, it's your cell phone, it's your watch, it's your stuff. It, if you look at it and say, I don't have time for this right now, that's okay. When is it we became on demand?
Well,
When
and if
is it
you don't answer, like back in the day, you didn't answer. They were like, "Oh, you weren't home." Okay,
right?
that's a good assumption. No, I wasn't. Now, if you don't answer, where were you? What were you doing? Why didn't you answer? What? No, it's my
Where
phone.
were you without me? How come I didn't get invited? And I mean, people get all around stuff and you're like, none, yeah, none your business. It's not. And I might have just, I mean, I've to the point where I've told people, I'm like, no, I was in the bathroom. I'm sorry I missed your call. Who cares? I didn't answer.
That is the no. That is the soft
That's
no.
the no. That's the soft no, right? Because you're just
No,
like,
I was not
oh, I'm
available.
really sorry I missed you.
No, I wasn't.
No, no, no. I was
I mean, and maybe you.
pooping.
They
I was
don't. You don't know.
right. None of your business what I was doing. I was taking a shower and I don't do that very often. I don't know. I need more of them. I mean, good God. But we have to remind ourselves that the things in our lives, especially when we're in our space, are for us. And yes, it makes it easier for other people and it makes it easier for us to be in communication with other people. But when you set those boundaries, like 8 o'clock at night, nope,
Hmm.
I'm done. I'm not social surfing. I'm not texting. I'm not, and I might stare at the TV. I might read a book. It still might involve technology in some way. It's just not responding to anybody else or being involved in that social atmosphere. And that can change your whole attitude about how you address the next morning.
And I think that ties into like creating your yes zones. So like you shut off your tech and you're saying no, you're putting that boundary, but maybe you create the people or places or the practices that you want to do that help amplify you. And when you have that no zone, you can turn yourself into this is where I'm going to be. I'm going to go to my yes places where I refill my cup, where I get more amplified, where things feel better.
That's
Create
good.
create your yes zone outside of your no zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
A little chaotic and confusing, but makes sense in
But
my mind.
it's a sacred space. And if your sacred space is an entire room, an entire house, an entire property, lucky you. But if your sacred space is like, hey, when I'm sitting in this spot on the couch and I'm TV and I'm just channel surfing, the phone's in the kitchen, the phone's in the office, the phone is somewhere else, and it's downtime. I don't need to be on 24/7. And that's a boundary. And that is a boundary that will bring a lot of chaos for you at first if you're not used to it. And it's going to feel um, very disruptive and a little unnerving. But the more you do it, the more you're going to like it. And the more you're going to say, you know what? Instead of 8 o'clock on, I'm thinking 6 o'clock on. If they're not home already and talking to me or know where I'm at, mm, too bad. We'll talk to them tomorrow.
Exactly.
It's
Well,
just,
and that's a great point though, is what I really want everybody who listens to this to take away is get uncomfortable now for your own comfort. Like
yes.
ask yourself those questions. What if I went to the doctor without shaving my legs? What
Yeah.
if one messy corner for my guests that are coming? What if I didn't take care of all of it? What if I told somebody no? And
Yeah. Right.
find
What if,
that find that magic because it's important.
and do it, even if you have to skid it out in your head first with the people that you never say no to. your boss, your partner, your best friend, people that you're like, oh, but I don't want to let them down. Who are you letting down? You're letting down yourself. Stop it. So practice it in your mind first. And if you need to run it by a buddy, somebody else, pinging us on immersive spirit, we'll tell you no, we'll tell you yes, but you whatever. But you just run it by somebody to start helping yourself adjust to feel okay with it. Because the fact is, once you set those boundaries, and I don't, what's BS to me is this whole thing about, and I'm grateful, don't get me wrong, but that it takes till we're in our 50s for that really big wisdom to hit, where you don't give a shit what people think about you anymore, or you don't care. I mean, yeah, I mean, I took a shower and I actually kind of did my hair and put on some makeup, but that's more for my benefit, I think, than anybody else's. I scare myself. But it's just the, it's the process of you so come out of your shell at a certain age. And I'm so envious of the 20-year-olds and the 30-year-olds and like my nephew who's so comfortable in his own skin already at 16 that you go, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I
And
think,
that's isn't our goal.
yeah,
What's that?
every
I didn't mean,
generation, I think it gets a little better.
yeah. And you just want to see that keep happening. And that's where we're aiming for, is to just be like, okay, I have my space, I have my boundaries, and right now it should be easy to say no. And for it to stick and to matter for you and to matter to the people that are hearing it from you, like, okay. And if they push back, well, I need this right now. Well, I need, why? Why?
Why,
Why
yeah.
did,
Why did you wait until the very last second to get me involved to tell me that it's now my problem?
right. Exactly.
No.
It's perfectly said that it's not my problem.
It
Lack of lack of planning on your part does not constitute an emergency on mine. One of my favorite still sayings at work to this day. Yes.
Yeah, so break your old rules is really what we're what we're gonna break this episode down to. Break your own rules.
Break
Rewrite.
your own rules.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I think
And
we
then
were
I,
about
oh, go ahead.
there was something astrology involved with that. Anyway, we'll re
Uh, Probably Uranus retrograde.
Oh,
It's,
okay. Yep, 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 yep.
yeah. Which is like midweek.
Yes.
So, because Uranus, of course, that's just going to remind us basically, as we're going into retrograde, that innovation is to innovate and to really do those things and to really grow yourself means breaking old rules. Then we go into that Pisces moon and this weekend, and then we've, got the lunar eclipse with it. That's a huge flow of protective that you need to protect your own energy. And setting those boundaries is, again, it's critical for protecting your energy and your space.
So, yes,
So,
to innovate, you need to break your own rules. I mean, that's like a
yes,
perfect wrap up to what we're talking about. Break your rules and protect your space, your peace, your intuition, who you are.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
totally agree. Yeah. And it's easy, right? Thinking about this as a an audit for you. And you can call it a ritual, you can call it whatever you want to, but it's a good way to do it. So think of it as a boundary ritual, an audit. Identify one area that's draining you. That should take about 5 seconds because everybody's got a million. If it doesn't, I envy you already. Um, then think about what boundary could you set right now that would honor my energy in that moment, in that whatever that is that's draining you. And then say, I'm not available for this anymore. Or I'm not available for this right now. If it's no use something you have to, you have to deal with it later, but not right this moment, then say it that way.
Yeah.
And
And
write it on a sticky note. Put it
yeah,
someplace where you can see it,
there you go.
right? See it
Absolutely.
out there. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it on that part.
Or text it to it'd be another cute way to do it. Is text it to yourself. So that
Yeah.
way you're actually putting it out somewhere. Well, writing it down, writing, I love writing because it gives so much power. And I know I've talked about that before.
Yeah.
But texting it, like that's putting it out in the ether, like you've told somebody that. But you can
Right.
yourself just so you can get used to that challenge of saying no or setting that boundary because it is okay. You're allowed to.
And if you've got a really good community, I think about our community with Immersive Spirit, everybody's got little communities that they just love in group chats or whatever. You could even throw it in there. It doesn't have to be explained. It doesn't have to go into huge detail. Just be like, hey, I need to create a boundary, and I'm just saying I'm not doing this week. People will probably be like, good for you. You go, girl. You go, boy, whatever it might be, right? They're not going to know what the hell
Just
you're talking
celebrate.
about, but
Yeah.
they're just going to be like, say no. And you never know. Putting it out there like that might create a whole chain reaction where other people will go, that's a great idea. What do I say no to this week? So they don't even think about it and they're like, I'm totally saying no to this. I don't have to go shopping today. I can do that tomorrow. You know what I mean? Just
That's a
taking
great
their space back.
be the
Yeah.
person, the catalyst for others to say no to.
Yeah.
Or at least set a
Yeah.
boundary. You don't have to say no, but define your yeses, define your time
Right?
you're gonna allow.
Oh, we're pulling a Nancy Reagan. Just say no. Yeah.
Well, every no
Every,
is magic and every pause is,
every, yes. Oh my God. Every no is magic. That's
yeah.
so true. And you can protect your energy. So it is. Everything you do is a magical thing for you. And yeah, clean underwear. I mean, I prefer
Yes,
clean
it's
underwear.
nice.
I'm not one of those that wants to wear dirty underwear, but you change it because you want to, or you change it because, it can stand up on its own and walk across the room, but you don't change it because your firefighter might see it. I'm sorry. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you're single and on the quest for a particular hot firefighter and you know who's going to be there. But otherwise,
Don't be
why?
crashing your car either, just to get hooked up.
No,
Find a different way.
no, no. Rescue a cat out of a tree or something like that that doesn't
Yeah,
require them even seeing your underwear. How about that?
there
There's
you go.
something.
Let's not get in an accident. Let's not put that in the energy.
Oh, God. Anyway, all right. Well, I can throw in a little astrology just to wrap it all up. Saturn's lessons, right? Saturn is our great instructor, and not always, we don't always love that because we don't always love our teachers, but they're there to teach and to bring the lessons for us. Virgo's clarity, Uranus shaking up the old. So this week is all about that deep truth. And your energy is sacred. Your energy is really holy. It really is. I mean, I know that's a huge statement, but it is. And you should protect it like the magic it is. Protect it with a spell the way you should, because it is your energy. And if that yes feels great, go for it. But if that no feels better, then there's your answer. Just say no.
Yeah, listen to your intuition because, that responsibility of Saturn is going to be pushing on Pisces.
Yep, absolutely.
Give yourself
Any,
friends.
yeah. Anything I forgot in there or that you forgot?
If I forgot it, I forgot it. So I don't think so.
All right, cool. Well, we will wrap with that then. We know this is a few days late. It's one of those things that, when we get together and work, it's the strangest thing about what we accomplish and what we don't. But we'll have our next podcast, of course, coming next week. We do have our paranormal adventure. We've got our team from our foundation's program that we're going to be doing some their first paranormal adventure. And so some instruction there and some guidance. So we're very excited about that. And there'll be more details coming around what we found in the coming months and weeks and months. But for more about your boundary setting and just really living your soul-led life, make sure you're going to immersivespiritliving.com and downloading our free soul map kit. You have all of our pillars out there. Everything is completely free. There's no obligation. Go out, grab it, download it. There's great little tools and resources, all these different ways to really dig into living your truth.
I'm a workbook
Uh,
person, and I love it because there's so many workbooks out there that you can actually just process through and fill in. we
Yeah.
kind of get to the meat of what immersive spirit is about because our soul is led by our pillars and we got to keep those pillars vibrant and clean and all that good stuff. So anyway, go check it out.
Yes, please do. And if you haven't already, subscribe, 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 subscribe. Hit the notifications, ring the bell. We'd love to have you following our YouTube channel. We're going to be getting more and more content out here, and we're anxious to share it with everybody. So we'll see you on immersivespirit.com, immersivespiritliving.com, here on our YouTube channel. And I'm Stephanie
I'm Natalie.
from High Heels to Happy Feels, and we're from Immersive Spirit. We will see you again next week. Have a amazing week and just say no.